Okay, back over here in the opinion of Rav Kreskis, we already spent 2 days, and I would like to try to conclude his ideas, because as fascinating and as, I think, novel as they are, we have to keep moving through. We have to keep moving through the Sefer over here to understand the broader picture of Bechir, of our free will. Now, remember, he's saying here that a person, this is his novel concept, a person doesn't really have much free will in their actions. More or less, even if HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't choose for you everything that's going to happen, but more or less, all the moving parts have already been set up for thousands of years already, and society and life is moving itself in a certain direction, and Hashem programmed you with certain abilities and talents and skills and personality traits and so on and so forth, and there are certain things that you struggle with and you don't have, and so there's already a whole system in your life that's running, and it will run with or without you. So there's many things that a person's going to do in their life that are good. Didn't really choose it so much, it's kind of just my nature, or that's the way that things were leading up to that moment. And there's many things in my life that I will do that are not so good, but I can claim to Hashem, I mean, that's just the way you set everything up. So I didn't really do anything that's so terrible because I didn't really choose to do that thing. That's just the way that everything worked itself out. So his chiddush, his main interesting idea that he's saying over here is that the world of free will is very limited, except, as we pointed out, it's on the inside, which means the way that I'm going to react to the decisions that I might not have even made, but when I do the right thing, as we pointed out last time, do I have a very good feeling inside of myself that I'm doing the right things, and therefore that will motivate me to move in that direction? Or do I have a regret when I do the right things? And if I do the wrong things, do I actually feel bad about doing the wrong things? Is there the moral compass that's going on inside of me telling me I should not have done that? They just interviewed one of the leaders of Hamas yesterday, and they asked him about all of the carnage that took place on October 7th. And he said, we have no regrets, and we would do it again. And the truth of the matter, he said, we're planning for even worse. So does a person have any morality that's left inside of them that if they do heinous crimes like that they actually feel bad about it? Or they say, no, that's all part of life, and that's what we do, and that's how I behave, and so on and so forth. So says Rav Kreskis, that's your free will. Your free will is how will you respond to the actions that you were kind of thrust into doing. Do you feel good about yourself or bad about yourself when you're doing it? And again, if we gravitate towards the good things and we feel very good about it, so then it makes us into a much more spiritual, positive, more connected, godly person. And if we feel bad about the good things that we do, we're distancing ourselves from all of that. And if the bad things that we do we feel good about, we're also severing those spiritual ties that we have, and we're denigrating ourselves and degrading ourselves to a much lower spiritual level. That's what he seems. Yes.
Using the Torah as our guide for morality.
Correct.
So how do you explain these Orthodox rabbis who say these terrible things about Israel, and they're using Torah? What are
you referring to?
With the Arabs and
Right. So first of all, that group that you're referring to, which is called Naturi Karta, has been a thorn in the side of Orthodox Jewry for many years. And finally, with this whole thing that's going on right now with Hamas, and they continue to give over pro-Palestinian and messages, they were finally basically excommunicated, put into what's called CHAIM. They're put into excommunication because it can no longer be tolerated, the things that they do. So that's not a representation.
But they're using the Torah.
No, but they're wrong. It's a total misrepresentation. No,
I agree with you.
That's okay. That's okay. What's in their mind? They're wrong. People make mistakes. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, this sickness that's in there, they don't understand. But maybe now that some of them are sitting.
But I agree using the mind of the Hamas terrorists, they think that they're right and they're morally right.
Okay.
I think they're wrong, and everybody else thinks
Right,
they're
but
wrong.
see,
But in their mind, they go home and
I understand,
peacefully.
but
They
see,
have no regrets.
right.
They're proud.
Right. I forget who it is, which one of the Rishonim said such a thing, but that everybody in this world has a moral obligation to know what is right and what is wrong. And like we see that there's this one son of one of the Hamas leaders, this fellow Yusuf, that is going around the world. I think he was in the UN maybe last week, and he gave a rousing drasha, a rousing speech over there showing how evil Hamas is. Here's a guy that grew up, his father was like the Rebbe of Hamas. And he grew up in a house where they just spewed forth the propaganda all day long. And he probably at a young age, 3 years old, has pictures with his machine gun in his hand and chanting, "Kill the Jews." But, and this is the proof, a guy could grow up like that, and he could be brainwashed like that, but if you're a human being, you have a human side. And at some point, if you allow yourself to get into the humanness of who you really are, you'll begin to realize that what my father and what my mother and what my uncles and my brothers and the whole community over here is preaching is nothing more than craziness and anti-Semitism, and it's lethal warfare, and it's killing.
That would be a very hard thing for a person to come up with on his own.
It would.
But Abraham came up with
again. It would be, but he just proved that you could do it.
Abraham proved that he could do it too.
Right.
Saying there's only one God instead of all these others.
Right.
But look how many thousands of years have gone by.
Yes.
And
Now,
he's the one guy.
right.
I'm talking about our generation.
Right.
How many
Right.
do we wait?
You're correct, but it doesn't absolve a person from being held accountable for living a life where they lived a life that was in total falseness and doing the wrong thing.
They didn't know they were in falseness.
Who is they?
The person who's living it.
No.
The terrorists.
Again, but it's the same thing. You know, there's always there's the feel-good story of the year is always the kid from the inner city who grew up. He wasn't really sure exactly who his father was. The one that he thought was his father was a gangster and a crack addict. His mother was a prostitute. His brothers were in the Crips from the time that they were 13, 14 years old. His uncle used to abuse him and beat him. He was beat up on the streets. He went into the Crips when he was a young boy himself. He was killing people by the age of 16 years old. And one day at 19, 20 years old, when he's sitting behind bars, he says, "What did I do to myself?" And he rehabilitates himself while he's there in prison. And he starts doing online classes, whatever it is, and he gets a college degree, and he walks out of there, and he ends up enrolling in college, and he does very well in his classes, and the next thing you know, he became a successful businessman or something of that nature, and he's making a lot of money, and he's going back into the inner city, and he's building these organizations to rescue the young kids that are there that are getting so lost in all the misery that goes on, and he's changing the world. So what's different about him than everybody else? You have one guy that took the time to think about what is the meaning of life. Why am I here? What does the Lord above want from me? And was I put here to be a violent, killing, thief type of a person? Or is there something more that life is really all about? So if that guy could do it, and Yusuf, the son of the Hamas leader, could do it, so then that means that more regular person who's confronted with, I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing, so when I do the wrong thing in my life, so do I feel bad or do I feel good?
But when he's doing the wrong thing, it's reinforced by their Bible. I'll go to heaven if I'm a martyr.
You're right. You're right. But again,
I'm doing the right thing.
but you're right. But again, the fact that there's a guy like Yusuf, he creates a very big question on everybody else. How did the son of the leader end up escaping from that world and go and call out his father and his families and his communities and all of Hamas and call them out for being the terrorist organization they are? How did he do that? Because that means that as he's going through the motions, he got to this place that Rav Kreskis is talking about. He's killing, he's murdering, he's chanting at a young age, "Kill the Jews, kill the Jews." He sees his father coming home and getting so excited because there was a terrorist attack and they blew up a bus and 13 people died that day and there's another 20 that are in the hospital, and his father is passing out candies on the streets to all the kids celebrating. And he's a little kid and he begins wondering, what's going on over here? So again, if he could do that, So then, this that Rav Kreskes holds is your point of free will, which means when you do the wrong thing in your life, and you will do the wrong thing, that's what he's saying, and you might not even have a choice. It's just the way that things are flowing. You do the wrong thing. You feel good about doing the wrong thing? Or do you find that place inside of yourself that's the real you, who you really are, and you say, whoa, this doesn't feel good. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Something is wrong. So that's the place of free will. And that's what he says we have in our hands. You could decide. Now, if you decide that you feel bad about doing the wrong thing, so then it would seem like you can draw yourself into better directions. And if when you're doing the right thing, you feel very good about it, you feel very connected, so you'll continue to move in that direction as well. And it will help to establish the pattern or the path that's going to be in your life. But if you feel good about doing the wrong thing, and you're indifferent about doing the right thing, so then you're creating a pattern that's going to work for you, that's going to continue moving you in the wrong direction. So that's the power of your free will.
And that's if you understand the difference between right and wrong.
Yes, but again, let's just say in a
What is right to you may not be right for me.
Again, let's just take morality.
Yeah.
Morality is morality, and you're right that in the world that we live in, so the society stretches what is moral and what is not moral. It's stretching it, and it's stretching it very thin, and we're seeing that society is literally falling apart at the seams because we've stretched it as thin as it could possibly go. But there's a core of morality, of what's right and what is wrong, that people have to think about in their mind. That's what we're saying over here. Is it, am I fusing myself, or whatever the word is? Am I not fusing? Yeah, maybe fusing my heart and my soul and my ideas together with what is right or what is wrong. That's really up to the person. Now again, if you throw the Torah in there of what is right according to Hashem and what is wrong according to Hashem, and that becomes the yardstick of how I measure things, so then when I do something that is clearly wrong in the eyes of Hashem, do I feel bad? Do I feel guilty? Do I not? So he's saying, if you do, that's where you use your free will. That means you got deep enough inside of yourself to be able to hear the voice of your soul to know, no, you shouldn't be doing those things. So therefore, I'm going to pull myself in a different direction. Hopefully it's going to create a new pattern in my life.
But this guy, Yusuf,
Yes.
He's an anomaly. He's like the rest of the people that grew up, the ones that grew up and got that indoctrination,
Right.
still have it.
Right.
This morning, it was so horrible. It was one of the survivors from the event, from the concert. So he pulled a woman over him who had been killed and rubbed blood all over himself
To save himself.
He was dead. He opened his eyes after a while, and he saw 8 men raping this Israeli woman, and she yelled, "Kill me already, kill me, you're going to kill me anyway." And they started laughing, and the guy shot her in the head. This is a story he told.
Wow.
This was just one of them. But these guys have no morals, because they were raised not to have morals. They were raised to want to kill Jews. So yeah, I think what you're saying is not everyone knows what's right and wrong. They're taught this is right, everything else is wrong.
Yeah.
And this is the way it's going to be.
Right.
That was Jim Jones. That was, they all drank the Kool-Aid. Through history, you have all these leaders.
Right. So again, yeah. So, no.
It's
So
hard to understand how a person can behave like that. Even if you think they need to die, you put a bullet in their head. You don't have to torture them, put them in the oven, and rape, and
right again.
cut
So
off their heads. All these disgusting things.
right.
But they go way beyond.
Right.
the
Okay.
death.
So again, so that's
The whole story.
right. Again, it's the extreme example.
Yeah.
That's the meaning. Hamas is extreme, and that this guy Yusuf is the anomaly. That's true, but he just proves that you could do it. No. So but we're not extremists. We're like trying to live a regular life, basically. So in our, let's say, I'll call it our regular lives, so then we should be able to find inside of ourselves the ability to be able to discern for ourselves what if I'm doing the right thing, so then, well, that feels good to do the right thing, so let me keep moving in that direction.
The only reason I bring it up is we know what the right thing is, and if we choose not to do it, then we either feel guilt or we're not happy or whatever. But if, like these terrorists, they do what we think is the wrong thing, and yet they feel no regret, no remorse, they go to sleep at peace at night.
Correct.
They don't have that right or wrong, I did good today.
Right.
And so they go home with a
Right,
conscience.
right. Okay,
But
so right.
They get the same benefit as I would if I said I did the right thing by, let's say you dropped $1 and I say, hey, but you dropped $1 rather than taking it. Or would they just do something wrong and think that was the correct thing to do?
Right. So I mean,
don't know.
right. So maybe
How
for
you
our purposes over here to go with the
No, I-
no,
yeah, I
no,
just
maybe
go a
no,
little
no,
further.
no, no.
How
But the
does
point that
God
you
judge them?
the
Those
the
people,
point
that's
that you're
not their
making the
problem.
point that you're making is a valid point, because to go to the extreme example is not really going to help us perhaps to understand. No, so that's right.
Terrorism, it could be
Right.
that.
No, so that's right. Let's just go to the more basic, meaning the things that the moral struggles that we will find ourselves in on a daily basis. Baruch Hashem is not that extreme, and it's not in the area really of theft and all these things. It's basically being the best person that I could be every single day and doing the right things. So there are things that we will do every day that are wrong. Now, whether we might not be fully aware that what we are doing right now is the wrong thing. So am I going to get myself sensitive enough? It's like when we learn together the laws of Lashon Hara, right? So for many of you, when we started learning these laws, like every day, I was like, really? You can't say that? Really? You can't say that? Really? You can't say that? Okay, so as Sam used to say, I'll just stop talking altogether. I can't do that. So what did it mean? It made you more sensitive to the power of your speech and the things that you were saying. And then maybe something that a year ago would have been easy for you to say, not a big deal at all, because that's just the way that you talk. Suddenly, as the words are coming out of your mouth, you're beginning to realize, oh, wait a second, we just learned about this exact case. I really shouldn't be saying these words. So now you're developing the moral compass more inside of yourself to know what is right and know what is wrong. Now, do you feel good or you feel bad when you do the wrong thing? So if I actually feel bad about doing the wrong thing, so then I can change myself and I can redirect the pattern of my actions and my deeds in a better direction, and it will continue to be pulled on in that place and not the other one. So one of the issues with Rav Kreskis is that the entire Torah is made up of schar v'einish, reward and punishment. And that's one of the proofs that the Rambam himself brings of how do you know that there's bechira, you have free will, because the Torah can never say you're going to get rewarded for doing the right thing if you had no choice, you were just programmed to do such a thing. And the Torah can never say that you're going to get punished for doing the wrong thing if God already decides everything you're going to do. Then you're not really deciding anything. So I didn't choose to do the wrong thing, so why should I get punished? Therefore, says the Rambam, from the fact that you see the Torah itself is filled everywhere with punishments and reward and punishment, that itself is a blaring proof to the fact that there's something called free will. You choose, you do the right thing, you will get rewarded. You choose, you do the wrong thing, you're going to get punished. So in the world of Rav Kreskis, who is saying that your actions are pretty much determined. You didn't really decide to do wrong or to do good. So then why is the Torah filled with punishment and reward and punishment? I'm not really doing anything. So he then has to go into this spiritual realm of morality, of inner feelings that a person has. Can Hashem reward or punish a person for that? So he explains over here. Reward and punishment are for the purpose of motivating correct behavior to move us in the desired direction. That's what reward and punishment is for. After all, we are creatures who can respond. Our responses might not rise to the level of full and free volition, but we respond nevertheless. Meaning that the reward and punishment that we're going to see for the things that we did is to try to awaken us on the inside. Am I doing the right thing or am I doing the wrong thing right now? Meaning it stands in my face. If I know I'm going to get punished for speaking Lashon Hara, So then when I speak Lashon Hara, do I feel good or do I feel bad? Well, if there's going to be a punishment that's going to come, so then I should really be feeling bad for such a thing. So, and if I do a tzedakah, I do a chesed, I help somebody out, I spend a few more minutes learning or saying some prayers for the Jewish people in Israel that are in danger. So I get rewarded for that. So then it creates inside of me this feeling that, well, that's what I want to do then, if that's where the reward is going to be. And it happens to feel good also. When I do the right thing, if I'm in tune with myself, it feels good. If I do the wrong thing and I'm in tune with myself, it actually feels bad. There's something called guilt that a person feels. Guilt is a good thing, because guilt lets me know that I'm doing the wrong thing. If I'm a Hamas and I have no guilt, and I'm raping and pillaging and murdering and chopping off heads, God forbid, and doing all these terrible things, so since I have no conscience, I have no guilt, so I'll just keep doing what I do. So Jewish guilt is like the best thing that God ever gave us, because it allows us to be in touch with ourselves, to feel bad when we do the wrong thing. And he continues, reward and punishment are pressures that will move our responses in particular directions. Meaning the inner response that I'm going to have is going to go in one way or the other. The system of commandments and consequent reward or punishment is a system designed to produce results. So Hashem says, you do the right thing, you're rewarded. You do the wrong thing, you're going to get punished. But I didn't really choose to do the right thing or the wrong thing, God. You just told me that everything is moving in that direction. No, so the question is, how do you feel now? And therefore, if you're going to recognize for the good, you get rewarded, and therefore you're going to want to move in that direction, you can somehow, that's what he's saying over here, you're changing the direction, or you're pushing your direction, moving in that way. Now, you might not have real free will in the other things that will come subsequently, but you pushed yourself because of those feelings in that direction. So freedom of will is not necessary to justify that system. According to Rav Kreskis, creatures who have no practical free choice will respond to the pressure of commands and their promise of commensurate reward and punishment. That means that I'm going to choose in my free will on the inside to make decisions of embracing the good and pushing away the bad, because I realize that's where the reward and the punishment will lie in my life. And therefore, it's going to allow me to shift my direction and move myself into the place which is good, which is positive, which is right. And therefore, my decisions to embrace the good and push away the bad actually redefines or continues to define the person that I am. So that's where he's holding right now. That's how it's going to work. There's a lot still to be said. There's two more ideas that they're both pretty big ideas. So I guess we'll continue with Rav Kreskis next time, because I don't want to confuse you and confound you any more than you already are. So we'll wait until the next time. You're welcome.